I'd actually be quite up for a Dawson's Creek reboot.
I never watched Dawson's Creek.
I loved it so much. I learned everything I know about relationships from Dawson's
Yeah.
Creek.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Who knows?
Welcome to the SheerLuxe Team Podcast with me, Charlotte Collins. This week I'm joined by Georgina Blaskey and Hough. Hi both.
Morning.
Hi, morning.
How are we doing?
Really good, thanks.
Cup of tea and I'm wearing cashmere and I'm not hating it.
It's still August.
Yeah.
Even as the ultimate autumn girl, it's got to be September before you can get excited about that.
Excuse me, you texted me yesterday saying it feels so fresh and September-y today.
It's really nice to get like the odd moment of it,
Yeah.
but like we can't go full throttle yet because there's so long to go.
But there's a hot spell coming up, and I'm
Exactly.
dressing for it, even if today is not hot. So
You've got a much better tan going on than both of us, though.
yeah,
so
you have.
you've
You've
got
also
the...
had a tan all summer.
Yeah, but Georgina is just a very tanned individual.
Lucky.
And sorry, and you've also been on quite a few holidays this year. Let's roll straight into new and noteworthy because you have just been. Where have you been?
I have been on a lovely family holiday to Turkey and Greece, and I have to say, I think it's one of the best trips we have ever done.
Oh, what a statement.
I know. And I was always like, the best family holiday we ever did was when we went to Oman and the kids were really little and it was great. What this one had in common with that one was moving around. And actually, I've realised now, whilst I love to kind of fly and flop, actually a real holiday for me, I think you're quite similar with this, Charlotte, is
definitely.
like when you're moving every, say, 3 days, you just see so much and there's so many kind of new memories laid down that by the time you get home, you feel like you've been away for months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels so much longer that way.
Oh, it was brilliant.
So where did you bop around to?
So I've got loads of recommendations. I've
tell
even
us.
got like notes because I was like, I'm not going to remember it all. I've got 18-year-old and 15-year-old. So my holiday requirements, like goodbye kids clubs, goodbye babysitting, everything. We can actually now go to kind of like boutique hotels and really kind of cool places that we haven't been able to do for a long time. So this was a real shift, which I was very ready for, loved. So we started off in a small town called Kalkan in Turkey, which is on the turquoise coast. So you fly to Dalaman and it's about 2 hours transfer. And we rented a villa. The kids took friends. And it was one of these places where they just have so much freedom. There are only 2 nightclubs, and they're not really even nightclubs. They're like outdoor bars with DJs that go on till like 2
Like
in the
beach
morning.
clubs.
Yeah. And it's like super safe. You get taxis everywhere for not very much money. It's incredibly well priced compared to if you're trying to do a family holiday in somewhere like the Algarve or one of those kind of teen-friendly destinations. They're just so expensive now. And this was just brilliant. It's got all these lovely rooftop restaurants. And then you sit up there having dinner. You can hear the kind of call to prayer. You really feel like you're not in the Mediterranean, even though you're on the Aegean looking towards Greece. But it just feels really quite different.
It's got a sort of Middle Eastern.
Yeah,
flair
it
to it,
really does.
Nice.
And we decided to rent a villa just like 10 minutes out of town walking. And you were just away because it is really busy. So we were just slightly away from that. Had the most incredible sunsets every night, just on this roof terrace looking out. It was about 35 degrees.
I was going to say this.
Wow.
Turkey in
Hot.
August is hot.
It was really hot.
Mm.
But you know, we had aircon, so it was fine. And yeah, so that was
Dreamy.
week 1. So that was big tick box there. Then we dropped the kids' friends back at the airport, and then we did a kind of family second week. And we went first to a place called Fethiye, which is just further up the coast. This boutique hotel. There are 2. One's called Perdue and one's called Nautilus. And the rooms are kind of built into the pine forest that tumbles down to the
wow.
rocky coves. And they try not to disturb any trees when they're building. So from the sea looking back, you can't even see the hotel.
wow.
It's very romantic. Little houses that have their own splash pools, lots of little places, little pockets on the coast where you would just have, say, 2 sunbeds set up and that
So
would
nice.
be it.
Wow.
And it's really dramatic and just so stunning.
And it's still in Turkey.
Still in Turkey. So this is just near Dalaman Airport. So we stayed there for a night and that was amazing. So as I said, there are 2 hotels, Nautilus and Perdue own a yacht. So we then had 2 nights on this yacht.
Oh, cool.
And I have never
Wow.
slept on a boat before.
No, I
and I've
haven't.
always said I never would. And anyway,
But you did.
I did.
Yeah.
It was
Well, you
amazing.
never would because it's just not something you're
I
interested
just
in.
don't like the idea. I find it a bit claustrophobic.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't like the movement. Every time I've been on a boat, whenever I've got off
Yeah.
it, I've always felt like that motion sickness
Yeah.
that evening and just felt really like, oh. So I was kind of hesitant, but everyone else was keen. So I was like, okay, fine.
And it's an
let's have a go.
experience, isn't it? Yeah.
Such an experience. Anyway, I absolutely loved
Oh,
it.
cool.
It was really amazing. I now get it. I get why people like to
Yeah.
go on sailing trips and things, just to be, you're like completely suspended from your normal life. You're chilling,
Yeah, that
and
makes
it's
sense.
like the big decision, like, should we go to that bay or should we go
Yeah.
to that
Yeah.
bay? And I thought, oh, we're going to get a bit bored. We're going to get on each other's nerves. It's just lovely.
Do you have a skipper with you? And
Yeah, there was a crew. There was, I think there were 3 people, and there were a few little toys on board. So they have these things, sea bobs, which you charge, these electric things, and you just hold them.
and then they scoot you around.
they propel you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but you can dive down
Yeah,
with
I've seen
them,
them,
and
really
then you
cool.
can pop up again, and you can skim the surface with
Yeah,
them.
so cool.
And they're really cool. So that was great fun. And then just lots of snorkeling, and then kind of swimming to shore, climbing up, jumping off cliffs. Not me, the kids. All that kind of stuff. So that was just brilliant. That was a real eye-opening experience. And after that, we then actually went up to Bodrum, because a couple of months ago, I was on the podcast and spoke about a feature that Sherry had written, which was kind of new openings in Bodrum.
Yeah.
And Bodrum's had a massive kind of change of direction, I would say. It's now looking a lot at more kind of boutique hotels, a slightly different market. I think it's trying to get into that sort of Mykonos vibe a bit more.
Yeah.
But so many of the best hotels in the world are there. Now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so many chains.
But it has a reputation as having these like massive big resorts. Anyway, we stayed at a lovely place called Number 81, which is like a kind of decked beach club with rooms behind.
Cool.
So it was really cool. And again, it's one of these places I never could have stayed when the kids were little.
Yeah.
And it had the most amazing food in the restaurant. It had a kind of live band there in the evening, but
Oh,
not naff.
amazing.
It was actually
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So that was fantastic. And then from there, we went to Bodrum Loft one night for dinner, which was one of the ones Sherry had written about, which I really wanted to go to. And that was awesome. I would love to stay there. It's really cool. And then we had a day at a beach club that's just opened this year called Bobo at the Stay. Again, it was just brilliant. Like they've really nailed it. I would just highly recommend that as a trip in
It sounds really like
itself.
trendy for one of the
Yeah,
best
very.
words. Like, it's all very
proper-
cool.
It's
and,
really
yeah.
cool, and all the people there were really cool.
Yeah, I love that.
And you know, everywhere you went, they had like a lovely boutique
Yeah.
in the beach club or
Yeah,
hotel, and great playlists just going on all day.
It sounds
Oh,
kind of
this
like
is amazing.
Tulum vibes.
That's
as
literally
well.
what I was thinking.
yeah. I
Just
mean,
like hotel hopping and everywhere.
yeah,
really cool.
exactly. And you can either go via little boats around and
That's
get
really cool.
picked up from places. They'll come and send boats.
And is
for
it
you.
expensive?
I wouldn't want to say it's really cheap. I feel like it's still really good value compared to Europe, though.
As I say, Turkey on the whole, right, is
Yeah.
a more affordable way to do a summer holiday than going to Italy. or
Yeah,
whatever,
and just
yeah.
things like when you are going between places, the taxis are really good value, and the hospitality was amazing. Just it kind of reminded me a bit of when you go to Morocco. I always think the way that you're greeted and looked after is really special.
Well,
and
there's
I
a
felt it was
warmth in the Middle
same.
East, isn't there? That,
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it was brilliant. And then we decided to get a ferry, and we went to Greece. So we finished in Rhodes.
Okay, how far is that?
That was so from Fethiye to Rhodes. I think it was about an hour.
Oh, really?
Okay.
So yeah, it's really easy to do, but you can get there from Bodrum, from Marmaris, from other ports as well. We actually finished in a kind of more, I would say, family hotel, a resort.
Okay.
So we just chilled there for a few days.
We keep talking about like how many people just seem to be on the same holiday
Yeah.
across summer. Like there's such, I think it's because Europe has become so much more affordable for Americans. So that like all my TikTok is just, it's the same trip.
Yeah.
It's like Ibiza, south of France, Italy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. Like it's just so repetitive, and it's so nice hearing some different holiday inspo.
It is nice to kind of, as you said, fly and flop sometimes, but like especially if you've got it with your family, to mark those occasions with them. And I guess I don't know how much longer will they?
I was
have
going to
holidays
say
with
how
you?
many more?
yeah,
how
I
many more
mean,
family holidays?
well,
do you have?
exactly. We had some A-level results while we were on
Yes,
holiday.
you had happy A-level results.
Happy
right?
A-level results. Yeah, all good.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, I shouldn't be the one being congratulated.
No, well,
really,
congratulations.
but, you know,
Yeah. It's
to
a
her.
process for parents.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
But it was so nice to be away on that day and
Yeah.
not be at home with all the kind
Stress,
of
yeah.
stress building. So
I said to you on A-level results day last week that it's been 15 years since I did my A-levels, and I still take such pleasure in the fact that it's not me and I don't have to do it. I can't imagine ever losing that feeling when it comes back around. Like, oh, thank God,
I'd forgotten actually the intensity, and like I started having the dreams like a few days before leading up, and oh my God, it's such a pivotal moment.
Something about opening an envelope that just, you know, whether it does really decide your future or not, there's something about that. There's nothing else in life as an adult that you go through that same sort of binary yes or no. I don't know.
No.
It's like if
Do
you
you
don't
know,
get a job, there are
exactly.
other jobs. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's so definitive.
And I was thinking like she did well, so that's fine. And had you been receiving those results, knowing it would be a good outcome, you could spend the whole day before just being like, I am so excited and pumped about this thing, like you would about your wedding day or something. You're like, this is going to be exciting and great. But you don't, because I think most of the time we go into worst case scenario.
Yeah, of course.
You go into like, worry about, well, I better just be prepared in case it's this or in case it's that. And then it is all, if it is all fine, you're then like, oh, what a waste of energy that was.
Totally. And especially if you've done
something away from it as well.
Yeah, although it's quite nice then to have the relief of it afterwards.
Yeah. But that kind of is anxiety, isn't it? Like the amount of energy that you spend worrying about something where like at the end of the day, like you can't change the outcome at that point. Once you've like sat your exam, you can't change it.
But I guess even if you're not an anxious person, exam results are just inherently anxiety inducing, aren't they? So it's just the whole thing is just...
I still get those dreams where you're about to go into an exam and you haven't prepared enough or you haven't read something. Like that still gets me quite a lot.
I found university exams so much less stressful as well than GCSEs and A-levels, because again, I feel like because it's more cumulative throughout the years, I don't get that same level of anxiety when I think about doing my finals than I do
I never had that, so that it feels like so far long gone.
You never
now.
did exams?
No.
And I also think you're a bit more mature, your brain's developed a bit more, so you kind of handle it in a different way.
True.
Whereas when you're, 18, a lot of them are sitting them when they're 17 still.
True. I did my finals 5 years after I did my A-levels. Yeah, you're right. That's a big difference.
And when you've got, like, if you've gone through education, like, that is what you are. Like, it's like drilled into you that like this is like the end moment.
Exactly. It's too much pressure.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're done. Only one more to go. Halfway through this. When are Noah's GCSEs next year?
Yeah, Noah's next year.
Right now, in this moment, you're about as free as you're going to be for a while. As in, his haven't started and hers are finished. So just enjoy.
I've got 3 weeks, and then
enjoy
we're into the year of GCSEs.
Anyway, Georgina, sounds like a fab trip. What else is on your new and noteworthy list?
On my new and noteworthy list. So my guilty pleasure since I got back has eased the post-vacation trauma is Emily in Paris is back on our screens.
It is.
And I think I might be in a minority by being a fan.
Have you always been a fan?
Yeah, well, I say yes, and then I have watched every episode, but I did spend the first half of the first series kind of like, I don't get it. Like, what is this show? Paris looks great. She's really annoying. The character Emily is so annoying. But, now it's just like my complete guilty pleasure. I love the way they shoot Paris. They make it look so beautiful. Yeah. Every episode, she's got like some real dramatic scrape she's got to get everybody out of, which is normally solved by some kind of American approach to social media. Like, we'll just do a little TikTok-y thing here and everything will be okay. And then it's suddenly like, oh my God, it's all amazing. It's like working Emily's saved the day again.
Emily in.
We were talking about this yesterday about what we were going to talk about, and you said this, and I just thought, well, I really respect Georgina, so I feel like I just need to, and people, and I don't think you're right that you're in the minority. People love this show.
I think it's a lot of people's guilty pleasure.
Yeah, so I thought, okay, I'm just going to suck it up, and because I had the same thing. I started season 1 when it came out and thought this is ridiculous. I can't watch this. So I just decided to start with season 2 because I figured that I could probably piece it together. I thought it wasn't too above me intellectually. I thought I'd be all right. Yeah. And I watched like 6 episodes last night. I totally do understand the appeal once you get rid of the crap of season 1. It's total rubbish. But I agree with you on all of these things. And also the fashion is so ridiculous. But it's quite entertaining.
Yeah. And sometimes you do just kind of need that show instead of like scrolling on Instagram and going on TikTok. Like it's just kind of watching mindless
drivel.
There's so much kind of, dark noir TV and violence and whatever. And those shows are amazing. Yeah. And there's shows with lots of nasty people and all the rest of it. But no one's really that bad in it. No one's that evil. No. Well, they're just making funny mistakes, and it's all kind of.
But question, because where I picked up, she's literally just like slept with her best friend's boyfriend, and she's still supposed to be the hero, and it's like, whoops, silly Emily, and I would be like, this isn't great. Like, I don't think you're supposed to do that.
That's true.
So maybe it's darker.
That is kind of a misstep on Emily's part. Yeah, just a bit. And that plot carries on. We're in season 4.
We're still going.
We're still going a bit with that.
Interesting.
Yeah, okay. I found it's the same as you guys. Like, season 1, what is this? And then I just kind of like fell into it. I was like, I'm kind of enjoying this.
Right, I thought you'd watched it.
Yeah, and then I watched season 2, and then season 3 I just could not focus on. When you're just, I literally, I think I've watched the same episode over and over again because I was like trying to catch it and I was just doing other things. And then I watched the start of season 4, and obviously, I could piece it together.
And I also just love the woman who plays her boss, Sylvie.
She's so amazing.
And she was on the cover of one of the Weekend Supplements a few weeks ago. And mean, she just looks amazing.
She looks
And
incredible.
she's saying, actually this show has given me a second career.
yeah.
I was pretty much like the aging French actress who wasn't getting any good parts.
And like, whilst Hollywood is renowned for that, France is even more so. That there is a shelf life for women in French film and TV.
Yeah, Emily's wardrobe's ridiculous. Hers is actually really cool.
Hers is incredible.
Yeah.
And it's really pared back.
Yeah.
I mean, the episode I watched last night, she was in this kind of 3-piece white suit, and she just looks amazing.
Yeah, so chic.
So chic. She might be my style icon. Actually,
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
an
I
older
see that.
woman.
It's quite Corinne Rutfeld.
Yeah. And the episode I watched last night, she was wearing like a very structured suit in a sort of taupey khaki green with then the bright pink Balenciaga knife shoes.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yes.
Yeah, killing it.
How far into season 4 are you?
2 episodes.
Okay.
There's only 5, I think. Someone
Oh.
said. I think I need to double check that, but I heard, which is not very many. It's asking a lot from the audience to commit, and there's only 5 episodes.
Yeah.
all that hype.
You want to commit?
I want like a good
time.
10 episode.
Yeah.
There's so much good TV coming back soon, which I'm so excited about.
Yes.
Shrinking in October.
Oh my God, that's my ultimate.
Like the best show that I've watched in the last year.
Yeah.
That's on Apple TV. We've talked about it before on the podcast, but it's with Jason Segel, and it's I heard somebody describe it really well the other day. Cast of therapists who are sort of going through their own life dramas. That's a very top line version of it, but it's a really good comedy.
Harrison
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 Ford.
Ford. Yes, of course, Harrison Ford.
He's
so brilliant.
Slow Horses as well.
Slow Horses season 4.
Have you
is
watched
coming
the trailer
back.
for that?
No, do you know what? I never finished. Is it even season 2 I didn't finish? I don't know
Ooh.
why. I know. I don't know why. I must.
I'm halfway through season 3.
Is it really
So I had a
good?
bit of a break.
Yeah.
And then my husband was like, "Oh, I don't really like it." I think he just felt quite repulsed by Gary Oldman's character.
Yeah,
But
he's
he
very
is
repulsive,
the best character
Yeah.
ever.
I
It's
love
just
season
brilliant.
1. Yeah, I don't know why.
Well,
I didn't get back into it.
so I liked season 1, but Heather was like, Slow Horse is my favourite thing on TV.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, obviously Heather is such a fantastic kind of gauge of these things. So I was like, right, I might have to persist on this one. So I watched season 2 on my own. And then I said to my husband, just come back in for season 3. You'll be fine. You won't.
Yeah.
It's like they're kind of within each series.
It's
their
fine.
own stories, but there are things that carry through.
Yes.
Oh my God, it's so good. Season 3 is brilliant. And it's definitely ramped up. I feel like everything's sharper and better. And like the humour's funnier, the characters more developed, the storylines are richer. It's just really good. But someone said to me, might have been Harriet, said, there's like 10 books.
Yeah. There's loads.
Or maybe more.
We've got loads to come.
So there's loads to come, which is like, I'm really going to commit to this now because I know there's going to be more.
Oh, I really need to get back into it. Where are you up to?
I finished. Yeah, I'm
you're
ready.
actually
finished?
I'm ready for as soon as 3 came out. We did it in like a couple of nights.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
I need to get back onto it.
Loved it.
Bad Sisters. All the Apple shows are coming back. So Bad Sisters is coming back as well. I actually didn't love it,
no, me
but Ben
neither.
loved it. So, and a lot of people
I quite
really
liked
enjoyed
it.
Yeah, so that's coming back for season 2. Although I don't know what this is about because obviously season 1 was all about a murder and we've solved the murder. And Severance.
Still never got into that. I know you
Still
guys
the
love it
best.
so
I know. I just said
much.
that that Shrinking was the best thing I watched. 2 entirely different genres, but Severance is just incredible. Not coming back until January, but I'm so excited about that as well. We've talked about TV. You've got a book to recommend.
I do.
I'm annoyed I haven't read this, by the way.
It's the new Coco Mellors book, Blue Sisters. It's had a lot of hype. She wrote Cleopatra and Frankenstein, which again was like kind of bestseller.
I loved that book.
Translated into every language on the planet. It's, I'm sure optioned for TV and probably
I think
filming
it is, yeah.
already. This one was, I think, twice as good.
No way.
Yeah.
Because the only review I've heard of it is Steph on our team posted it being like 6 out of 10, didn't love. I know.
What?
So is it really good?
Oh my God. It's amazing.
Oh,
Like,
great.
It's about 3 sisters and they're kind of united by the fact that their parents are going to sell this apartment they've got in New York. And the reason they're selling it is because they had a 4th sister who was living there who unexpectedly died. It kind of covers addiction, alcohol and heroin abuse. One's a model, one's a boxer, one's a lawyer. And there's a lot of it at one point set in London, which is quite nice. And otherwise it's New York. I think her writing, I feel like it's so much better. And the characters, for me, they just kind of walked off the page and like were in my head, in my heart. I found it very moving. If you've got a sister or siblings, it's about that kind of unconditional love, that push-pull, love-hate, when things are tricky, when things are amazing. And yeah, I just thought it was brilliant. I really was completely absorbed.
Did you read and enjoy Cleopatra and Frankenstein.
So that to me was a 6 out of 10.
Oh, interesting. Okay, because I love that so much. So intrigued. I must read this.
There were just a few elements for me that just didn't quite work. I loved the beginning and I loved the end, and there were just some bits that I don't know, I just didn't love. So I'll be really interested to know what you think.
Yeah, I'll read it on this trip. I'm trying to read My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante, because obviously I know they talked last week about the best-selling list, and Elena Ferrante came out on top, and I know Harriet like absolutely loves his books and has raved. So I was like, okay, I must read them. I'm just finding it really hard to get into.
Yeah, I actually read that for my out of work book club.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of struggled. Like I loved it and I got it. I got why people love it. It's a bit like tackling a huge Donna Tartt.
Right.
They're massive. There's 3 of them actually, and it's a commitment.
That's exactly
and
it.
They're quite heavy. They're quite slow. They're beautifully written, but it's a lot.
It's exactly that. I find Donna Tartt at least is pacey. Like it's a very good storytelling. Whereas I think I'm 20% of the way through Elena Ferrante, and not much has happened. So yeah. Anyway, I will read that.
There's
next.
a good televised version of it.
I mean, I should do that. Watch the film. Thanks, Georgina. Lots of good recommendations there. Lou, you're also back from a trip.
We had a week down in Devon. We stayed in a beautiful property it's on Instagram. It's called Devon Farmhouse. I think it's on Boutique Retreats. It's on Airbnb. Anyway, it's amazing. Like such a great spot to go with a family. It was much bigger than we needed, but there's a massive like paddock out. There's kind of a little garden attached to the house, and there's a massive paddock just like over the road where you can have like barbecues and games, and like it's like a massive field. So if you had a big family, it's so fun to go.
Nice.
It's such a good spot. So we were just outside Kingsbridge. And there's beautiful beaches, all kind of 20 minutes, within 20 minutes. Like there's Thurleston, there's Bantham, this beautiful beach called Hope Cove, which I feel like I've read a book based in that area. It was just so like, picturesque and cute. We also went to Totnes one day, which I went to when I was like 12, 13. There's like a famous market that's always there, and it is so trendy now. There we went to an incredible pub called the Bull in Totnes. The food was outstanding, really cute. It's kind of like a real mix of like a little seaside town with like those shops that are always there, plus lots of kind of new boutiques that are coming up in fancy coffee shops, and a really cute kids shop called Small Folk, which I literally could have bought the whole store. I couldn't recommend it enough. And I feel like also obviously we went in summer, but I feel like a sort of an autumn spring break, so lovely. We took a boat out in Salcombe. It's obviously really close to there, so that was lovely. You've been to Salcombe,
I
haven't
have
you?
been to Salcombe. I'm just thinking, yeah, I have, as a matter of fact. Yes. Yeah, we've got friends with a house in Salcombe. Gorgeous. So, so lovely there. Yeah.
Salcombe was actually really busy. Had a little look around Kingsbridge one day. Went to Ashburton. Also, my family have got a farm close by to there and haven't been there in years. And there's so many amazing vintage antique shops there.
When I think of these areas, I think of antiquing.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to do.
Amazing.
Antiquing and scones.
Yes.
Well, although actually, I suppose in summer more ice creams and
No, lots of scones.
Yeah, you still want cream.
Yeah,
lots of cream. The other thing you are loving is just fashion.
Oh my god,
fashion in
it's
general.
just, like so I get so excited this time of year. The new season is like trickling in, and I guess it's almost like look but don't touch, because you can't really wear those things yet. As she says, wearing cashmere, but yeah, all the the campaigns are coming out. Like that Chloe campaign, I'm so obsessed with. We're seeing so many suede jackets. Suede is not going anywhere. There's amazing, like there's bombers, there's trenches, there's bags, there's belts, there's maxi skirts, just such a big moment. Studded detail, seeing that like there's the obviously amazing Kate bag. Mango have got an incredible like, tan, long, kind of like a hobo bag with these big silver studded details on it.
Cool.
Everyone's doing obviously the Kate Benny belts. Studded copy.
Also those shoes that we got sent yesterday.
Oh my god.
So H&M, I think the embargo lifts today, so I think we're okay to talk about it, have got a new collection coming in September, and we got a sneak preview this week. There's this pair of shoes. I actually don't even want, no, maybe we shouldn't even talk about it, because I'm so scared I'm not going to be able to get them. They're a black leather pump with giant gold studs on them, but they are so cool.
So cool.
Like they look so expensive.
I just like an accessory like that. I just absolutely
and you can just update anything you've got.
So cool.
Exactly.
Everything.
Exactly.
They're amazing.
So cool. Snake print accessories as well. Like that's everywhere.
Oh, what about leopard print? Because I keep reading like, leopard print's here to stay, and I'm like,
it is. I feel like there is a lot.
I feel like it's just always around.
Yeah,
right?
and there is. I'm going in the snake print camp for me for autumn. That's more like.
Were you wearing some snake print shoes yesterday?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, where are they
Yeah,
from?
they are from Massimo. They're a
goodness.
very Kate-inspired shoe.
Do you need to talk about Massimo Duty? I feel like you're having a real Massimo
I like
moment right now. Yeah.
I feel like I could just talk a whole lot about Massimo
Because these
Dutti.
shoes are cool.
These shoes are Massimo Dutti. They're like little suede moccasin. They're kind of giving me the Miu Miu boat shoe vibe. They're kind of ticking that box for me. But yeah, I'm just so excited.
Obviously, last autumn winter there was such a transition from navy into browns, and I feel a bit stressed that brown's back. Not because I don't love it, I actually prefer it, but I'm like, shit, like I don't really have a bag that's in that category. I feel like there's a real overhaul demanded of all of our. If we need a brown bag, we know who certainly has
brown bags.
95 brown bags later.
Also, January 2024, I had 0 brown bags.
They've all come your way. Yeah, if you need some brown bag inspo, do look at TikTok and lose brown bag. Sure. But yeah, just that sort of general. If you're used to dressing in the navy and black camp, which I think so many of us have been for so many years, there's quite a lot of purchasing to be done.
Yeah, there is. Also, there's a lot of kind of terracotta, like that sort of deep red, like that sort of tone.
It all looks that all goes so well with the brown family.
Well. Yeah. And like dark, like deep olive as well. So good.
Can I roll into my new noteworthy from that? Because the thing that I'm obsessed with, barn jackets, which are everywhere. I mean, literally everywhere. Yeah. The Prada original is so good, like so good. It's also $3,500. So somebody got in touch being like, I'm a buyer for X and I can do it for you for 2,800. I was like, still no.
Yeah.
No, but it's super cool. There's also one from the Row, which is amazing. The best one I've seen is McQueen. I was gonna say it's a nod to it. It's very much a barn jacket, but with a very McQueen twist. So it's got this really sharp waist with a peplum fit, but it's also still in that kind of canvas with the collar. I mean, it's so cool, but I mean, again, wild pricing. So we're going to look to the high street, where there are some amazing. The Arquette one is doing the rounds a lot. That's a really, really good kind of dupe of the Prada one. I think what the Prada one has is that it's so kind of oversized and chill. So that's kind of what you're going for with the vibe.
And you want thick and you want structure, so it's going to hold its shape.
But then at the same time, do you want it to be able to wear it as like, I want to be able to sit in it in the office, not have to take it off because it's more like a coat.
Interesting. Okay.
Personally, because otherwise we have this conversation every year. But if you have to take your jackets off in the office, when are you wearing them? Because I'm inside all day. So you just get to wear. You don't want to like buy this big thing that you love and then have to take it off when you get to work.
Yeah, the best thing is when you do a European or like you do a city break in winter and you're like, my coats become the outfit.
You literally get to wear. You wear black leggings and a black bow at the neck. And it's so good, so much better.
Isabel Marant one is also amazing, which has also got like a kind of a tie at the waist. There's also a Uniqlo men's they've sold out online, but they are in store. So do go check them out.
Well, there is a Zara one, which I think actually is probably the best out there. It just keeps selling out. I need to put my name on the
and there's one coming soon on COS. It's in the drop down. I can see it in the campaign image. So
it's coming. But that is kind of, if you're going to buy one jacket, it's that.
And definitely like this time of year, like that is your like ultimate transitional piece because like there's no wool. It's like comfy. It's cool. You could wear it. I could wear it down to Devon.
So that's one of the things I'm loving. What else did I have? I read a book on holiday, which I did really love, which is The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. I think it came out in 2022, 2021. It is basically, I was describing it to somebody the other day and they said, oh, it sounds very heavy, like A Little Life. And when you describe it, it does sound like it's incredibly heavy, which kind of thematically it is. But actually, the way that the story is told and the sort of first person narrative is actually more uplifting than depressing. It's nothing like reading A Little Life. So it is basically the journey through one man's life. It begins with his mother, who gets pregnant in a very Catholic village in Ireland in the 1920s or 30s, and is naturally cast out by the priest and her entire family and moves to Dublin in order to have the baby and continue with her life. And I sort of don't want to give it's so that you sort of get her chapter and her life and how it's all still told from the perspective of said baby, from the person who she ends up giving birth to. It's told from but my mother did this, my mother did that. So you understand how this person came into the world, and then it picks up again when he's a child and basically follows him through into his 80s. It's just an amazing life story of somebody who, of course, begins his life in an adoptive family. You obviously know from day one that he finds his mother because in chapter 1 he's referring to her as his mother throughout. So you're basically on this journey with him, waiting for him to find out who his real mother is and build that relationship, because you know that's coming. So in a way, that's really nice. It keeps you quite invested because you sort of know the ending, but you don't know how you get there. He is a gay man, so a lot of it sort of picks up periodically every 10 years or so. Basically, one of the key themes throughout the entire narrative is about life as a gay man in Ireland, and then actually subsequently in Amsterdam and then New York, and the various kind of tribulations that came with that in a very religious country kind of throughout the 20th century. And even then, the kind of rampant homophobia throughout the world kind of in that century. It deals with the AIDS crisis as it gets into the 80s. And anyway, it's just a really interesting kind of historical look at such a big part of the 20th century, because it basically follows 80 years. And it's a genuinely really good story about really good characters and really interesting people. So that sounds really generic, but it's a really, really good read. I really recommend it for something that kind of, I'm always looking for something that's deep and well written and good, but not like desperately heart-wrenching. And this ticks all of those boxes, so I love it. You read it, but you didn't have much recollection of
Well,
it.
I read it when it came out, and I remember loving it. And I also think it's just really fascinating when you get a full life, like you were saying.
Yeah.
It's really satisfying as a
Exactly.
reader to see someone from beginning to end.
It's exactly that, yeah. I was going to give some New York recommendations because I'm off again today for 10 nights.
Woohoo!
But I feel like I could just go on and on and on. So people always ask, there's a feature on site. It's pretty much all my recommendations. Go there. Can you each quickly tell me something you've loved on SheerLuxe recently? What are you loving?
I absolutely love the makeup order TikTok. We've done in the past, like, what order you do, like, your hair, getting dressed, and makeup. Also fascinating. What are you guys?
Always outfit last. The very last thing.
Interesting.
Hair, outfit, makeup.
Wow. See, I don't know what my outfit's going to look like until I know what my face and my hair's doing that day.
Yeah,
So that's why I go
I
last.
also find that, like, if you look so shit, whatever you're wearing, you're like,
Exactly
I
the
can't.
same.
Yeah, without makeup.
Yeah.
The makeup order was fascinating because there's a big concealer versus foundation debate on what you do first. Anyway, I was on a shoot on Monday and the makeup artist did my mascara first.
Weird.
Yeah, which
Before any other eye makeup.
before anything, not even
Just
even
all
anything face.
What?
Like,
Did
we
you ask her why?
started, yeah, because she said you get then a lot of like residue on your eyes, and then if you've already done your eyeshadow, etc., then you are messing it all up. So you start with that and then you build up around it. I've been really trying the concealer first. I see the pros.
That's what I do.
Do you?
I do concealer first, and
and have you always done that?
Always. I feel like anyone I watch on social media do their makeup, they do concealer after foundation.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. It's not for me. It's always concealer first, because then it's like, okay, then you've hidden your blemishes,
Yeah.
and then because I don't like to use too much foundation, so then you can just give yourself a bit of glow and coverage with your foundation, and you sort of crack on.
It made so much sense. And so also the makeup artist, she then didn't put any foundation like here either.
Here,
and then
for those listening,
on my cheeks, which again is like what I would normally always do, which I don't really need coverage there. I just kind of feel like that's what you do. Anyway, she was saying that obviously the more product you put on, the more it kind of sinks into your skin there. So don't put product where you don't need it, because then it's not really working hard.
But then don't you have like, aren't you mismatched? But I guess if you're putting blusher here anyway, then it doesn't happen.
No,
and
if
then
you're
it
like
all blends
blending
through.
everything. Did she do everything with brushes? Obviously, being a makeup artist, presumably she does. But you can then blend different products in.
Yeah.
But I always just use my fingers.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So do I.
Oh, do you? Oh no, I only use brushes. I don't use my fingers for anything.
Do you?
But I don't think I'm skilled enough with either my fingers or a brush to blend it.
Do you use different brushes for different things?
Yes, of course.
Well, I use one brush for everything.
No, Luke, you can't say that out loud. That's awful.
Yeah.
But like, surely, okay, so for example, if you've used a brush for your blusher, the next day if you use it for your foundation, then are you not getting blush all over your face?
Well, maybe I am, but I have the It Cosmetics, you know, the double-ended brush.
I love that brush.
Which is amazing. And also, I don't use powder, blush, or bronzer, so I use like a stick, and then kind of like buff it in.
Yeah.
I never looked at you and thought,
no,
she got blush.
True. No, that's never ever happened.
Whatever you're doing,
it's working.
just fine.
But anyway, I just found it fascinating, and I think often I feel like I'm maybe putting products in the wrong place because I feel like I should be. And it was fascinating.
Yeah, you do what works for you. Georgina, what have you enjoyed on SheerLuxe?
So I actually loved a feature that was on Gold, and it was all about bread. Should I eat bread? Is bread bad for me? If you're going to eat bread, are there like certain types of bread you should eat? And it coincided with something I saw in the Times to do with like why we're all not eating enough carbs. And obviously protein's really important, and we all know that, but actually not to the point where you cut out carbs completely. So it was all about the kind of the different bread types, that not all breads are equal. Some of it's pretty obvious. Obviously, if you're going to eat things like whole grain, rye bread, pumpernickel bread, all those things, they're going to be better for you. But what I hadn't realised was actually the impact of more fibre on health in general. So I kind of think like, when people don't like bread, it's like they get a bit of a tummy upset or cramping or whatever it is. But actually, if you have, I've got some stats here from the feature. So if you eat more fibre, you get a 5% lower risk in depression for every 7 grams of fibre you eat a day, and a slice of pumpernickel bread is 6. It's linked to a lower risk of heart disease by 9%.
Wow.
Which is pretty major. And type 2 diabetes by 6%. So when you're thinking carbs, fibre as well.
Interesting.
As well as bread. But then I do remember seeing a while ago, there's a really good recipe on Arta, the supplement brand. They have a really good recipe for a super seed bread that you make at home, just in like a cake tin. And I think it's sort of buckwheat flour and seeds and all these things, and you can freeze it. I haven't made it yet, but that could be a weekend project because I'm quite intrigued to try that.
I think if you can get all of the things you need out of like bread, then happy day.
Yeah, I mean, because it's also like that go-to snack. So often I'm like, I'm just going to get some breadsticks and hummus and eat that before dinner, kind of home from work, and I've got that like starving moment. Yeah. But it's ultra-processed food, a breadstick, and I mean, even hummus is pretty processed.
Yeah.
So actually, maybe having something a bit denser earlier in the day, then I wouldn't have that. So we shall see.
I do always find the more carbohydrate I personally have at lunch, the more carried through I am for the day.
Yeah,
if we ever go and have a proper sandwich or something like that for lunch. I've started making my own tzatziki.
Ooh.
Because we eat like bucket loads at home, and it wasn't even, the only reason was simply that we couldn't, like, we weren't being able to buy the volume that we wanted to eat anyway. But it's just thinking of a bit hummus being ultra processed. Like, I mean, tzatziki is so easy. It's literally yogurt, garlic, cucumber, lemon juice. Like literally, that's a bit of olive oil. So a lot of people do make their own hummus. So maybe
I make my own hummus.
Yeah, you do, don't you?
Do you have a really good recipe? Because I've definitely tried a few recipes and some have been better.
Yeah, I just did. I think it's a BBC Good Food one.
Oh, just a quick question on your tzatziki though. Oh, yeah. With your cucumbers, are you grating them?
Grate and then squeeze out as much of the liquid as possible, and then literally fold it into an entire pot of Fire yogurt.
Ooh. Yeah. Do you know, I had an amazing dip from M&S yesterday. I think it must be a new one, but it was like a broad bean and pea and mint dip.
Oh, nice.
Which then had lentils, broccoli, sugar snap peas, and some sort of like seedy, crunchy thing on top. So good.
Oh my God, that
what is
amazing.
like a little like afternoon snack pots.
Oh, nice.
So
I think I've had
delish.
that before. That actually rings a bell.
Delish.
Yeah, M&S are good at those.
Yeah, really
nice.
good.
Good
to know.
nice.
Can I tell you about something I've loved on SheerLuxe? Challenges podcast. The latest one is out. For those who haven't listened, Amber hosts different guests talking about different topics that are things that might be challenging. This week she had on the duo from the Distracted podcast talking all about ADHD. Amber also has ADHD, so it's just even if you're not a sufferer, I feel like there's so much rhetoric around ADHD out there these days, and it's actually really interesting to hear from 3 young people about how it really affects their lives. And if you have people in your life who've been diagnosed, sometimes there are elements of their behavior that can be quite frustrating, and I found this podcast a really helpful way to have a bit more empathy and be a bit more sympathetic. But if you are a bit more neurotypical, you don't understand why people who are neurodivergent can't do or understand. It was a really good kind of insight into that. I think, we're all on a spectrum of some sort. So there's certainly things that they talk about and you're like, oh, interesting. That sounds relatable. So anyway, it's really worth a listen just to sort of, as we know, so as I say, everyone's on a spectrum somehow, and so many more people are being diagnosed. So I think everybody kind of owes it to everybody else to understand it a bit more. So it was a really good way to
I'm going
to learn a bit more. It was great. We're going to talk very quickly about TV because Georgina, you saw an interview with James Corden.
I mean, I love his show in America. Like, I am a fan. I know that lots of people aren't, but I do like him, and I love Gavin and Stacey like with a passion. I just love it. Yeah. And anyway, Chris Evans interviewed James Corden, and they were talking about him writing the last ever
but they did say that last time.
Yeah, but they stopped with a cliffhanger. So it was 2019 was the festive episode, and it finished with his co-writer Ruth Jones, who plays Nessa, asking Smithy, James Corden's character, to marry him.
I just got goosebumps when you said that.
And it was like, and then it ended.
Mm.
And you're kind of like, how can you do this to me? As I've been a loyal viewer now.
Yeah. It was mean.
It was a bit mean.
Mm.
So he says on this interview that he wrote it 20 years ago. They started writing it 20 years ago. And he said to even have had the luxury of deciding to end it and to be in a position where people still care is such a privilege, basically, is what he was saying. And first of all, I just love all those characters with all their faults and quirks and everything. It's like the warmest TV show. But I just was really thinking a bit from the kind of endings point of view and how weird it must be as a writer to be like, to write the end and no. And it just started making me think about all those shows, the great shows that have ended at their peak on a high when the writers have really been in control.
But not many have.
Not many have.
Mostly, and who have I heard speak about this before? It's probably on the Rest is Entertainment, that it's actually British shows that have a precedent of doing that, whereas American shows of stop it. If you think about like 40 Towers, for example, you know, so many, or Succession, like, so, you know, two totally different shows. I can't remember exactly why. It's to do with the studios and the networks, but basically in the UK, you're in much greater control. You are able to call time, whereas there's much greater pressure in the States to roll and roll and roll until things are sort of on their last legs. Because I can't think of that many American shows that have left you wanting more.
Well, Ozark was a pretty good ending, but
You
it
liked
probably
Ozark,
was about 6 seasons in the end.
That's a
So
lot.
it was a lot. The one to me that just went on and on and on and on and lost its way completely was Lost.
Yes.
Well, Lost, they
That
had to make up.
was
Didn't they have to say
bizarre.
they were all dead in the end, weren't they?
I
Like,
mean, I
surprise.
don't think I even stuck with it because it just got
No,
so
that was
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
And I think the viewing figures
Yeah.
went down. And it was started off so brilliant. And I think actually it was a show which was only meant to be a certain number of episodes.
Yeah.
And then they just kept running it and running it and
Yes.
running it. And the writers were like, but obviously their story mountain,
over.
their
Yeah.
story arch was,
I think
it's this long.
those ones that like when you watch when you're like in a moment of your life, like The OC and Gossip Girl, and then it extends so far and then you're not really in that stage of your life
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
You just again then get lost with it. And it just
The other one, like Lost, I think that was so good and then just went mad was Desperate Housewives.
Yeah.
That was
I
what.
never watched that.
Oh my God, Lou. Desperate Housewives, the first maybe like 4 or 5 seasons. I haven't watched it since it was on.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know how well it aged, but I remember at the time.
Not well. So
Do you-
my
oh,
daughter
oh,
is
really?
watching it.
Oh, yeah, isn't it
And
good?
she had it on yesterday. And she was the one at the point where Carlos and Gabby have got their housekeeper to become their surrogate. So she's like spraying perfume that makes their housekeeper feel sick so that she's not anywhere upstairs because she's threatened by her with the husband. And there were quite a few episodes I was watching and my daughter was like, I don't think they could say that now. I don't think they could make that now.
Yeah.
They couldn't do this now.
Yeah, I
and, you
quite
know,
love
there's
that.
like Mike the Builder who sort of seems to have his top off a lot.
Yeah, and Jesse Metcalfe.
And there's
Jesse
quite...
Metcalfe, yeah, I remember that. Put him on that.
Yeah, and there's a lot that you're like, oh,
Okay,
no.
it doesn't age that well. I just remember it being so good, but yes, things are.
And then it all got really silly.
And then it got so silly.
So
exactly
silly.
that. Exactly.
Yeah.
Even the most iconic shows ever, like the ones that, you know, like Mad Men, The West Wing, Sopranos. I mean, those are all shows that ran for like 7, 8, 9 series, which Game of Thrones even, like that sort of lost its appeal eventually. I don't know how you can sustain brilliant writing and brilliant narrative control.
No. I think
years.
the one that has for me was like the perfect length, the perfect ending, left me wanting more, but you totally got it, was Fleabag.
Yes, but also British.
But British,
yes,
yeah.
exactly that.
But that was only 3?
Two.
I would love another series of that.
Yeah.
But like the ending, it was just, it was so perfect. for what it
Fleabag
needed
is
to be.
40 Towers, isn't it? In that sense that you just get these perfect, wrapped up in a bow.
Yeah.
This is it. This is all you're getting. And like, as much as you want more, there's something so satisfying in it not dying, right?
And also like not really the like happy ending that you think it's gonna be.
But I also think it's a real testament to the quality of the writer.
Totally.
That they know they've got other projects. They've got other things they want to do. So they're happy to walk away.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, oh my God, my job's over.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I've got these 10 other ideas.
It's like a
and then you're
confidence
like,
thing.
well, that's fine because we'll just sit there and wait for whatever Phoebe Waller-Bridge is going to roll out to us in the next 5 years because I'm sure it's going to be brilliant.
Yeah.
So
true.
It's fine.
An American show that I think never lost, well, it's sort of lost its way maybe in a couple of seasons, but Curb Your Enthusiasm, Larry David's Curb Your Enthusiasm was consistently brilliant. The last series was maybe like, I think probably if you didn't know it was the last ever series, you'd think it was brilliant. It didn't necessarily wow everybody as a final ever offering. But I think also that was made over a period of 20 years as well. Like, I think it's when there's this pressure to be delivering every year, a new season needs to, if I think of Game of Thrones, it was every single year was a new season, huge production, like that. I think at that point, that's when something gets compromised and the kind of integrity gets lost a bit. Whereas if you're allowed to make something in your own time, that's when it's better.
Like having a 5-year gap between the 2 Christmas Day specials.
Exactly that. Well, and also how much later did that, after Gavin and Stacey finished the first time, that Christmas special was years later.
Yeah, like I feel like almost
10,
a decade
yeah,
or something.
I think so.
I was thinking about Sex and the City morphing
Reboots.
into And Just Like That, and trying to keep that audience that have grown with it.
Yeah, so that's, I guess,
reposition
different.
itself.
Yeah, that's when you've taken your audience with you, and I think at first you're a bit like, no, like these aren't who I associate you with, and then I think once you then relax into it, you're like, okay.
I'm really mixed on that.
Yeah.
Because there are moments where exactly that, I find it's really lovely to revisit those characters, and it's so nice to get to spend time with them in whatever guise. But then I'm like, but this is just so inauthentic, and it's so not, as a true fan, what these people would ever be doing or saying or looking like or wearing, or so I find that quite a hard one. And I have to say, Frasier was rebooted as well last year, and they made another. I mean, Frasier itself was a spin-off from Cheers originally, and then they've made a subsequent one, and it's just, I don't know. I'm not sure you can recreate the magic.
No.
That many years later.
I know. Imagine if they rebooted Dawson's Creek and it was suddenly like, they're living in New York and these are the people, you'd be like,
I love Dawson's Creek.
So that's exactly it. That's exactly what they've done with Frasier and with Sex and the City. Like, despite they're still in the same location, but that's kind of it.
I'd actually be quite up for a Dawson's Creek reboot.
I never watched Dawson's Creek.
I loved it so much. I learned everything I know about relationships from Dawson's Creek.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Who knows?
Well, at least there's lots of newness to come and things that we're enjoying. Let's finish very quickly with some community questions. Lou, somebody said, I'm wondering if anyone has some men's lightweight t-shirt recommendations. Can I jump straight in with one? Because I am wearing today an Abercrombie men's t-shirt, which is literally like, I'm obsessed. I'll never buy another t-shirt from anywhere else ever again. They are so soft. There's a heavyweight. This isn't that. I don't like a heavyweight cotton t-shirt. They're just like buttery soft. This has been washed multiple times now. Super soft, really chill. £18.
So nice.
Love. You?
Counters that, I love a heavyweight t-shirt.
Oh, do you?
And I love the Uniqlo U men's t-shirts, which really hold their shape and are thick. Love them. Arquette men's, also really good.
Georgina, somebody says, I'm renovating. It was a big old question. I'm renovating my house. Where do I find interiors inspiration? Apart from SheerLuxe, of course.
Well, obviously, SheerLuxe has written features on a kind of renovation accounts to follow, Instagram accounts to follow. I think that if you're renovating, you probably want to follow someone who's renovated recently. There's so many factors here because it kind of depends on the period of your property, their property. Toby's home is really, if you're doing something more cottagey, he's done a couple of cottages, a cottage and a little house. But they have, as a couple now, moved to London.
I can't keep up with him. He's been moving every 5 minutes.
I know, and it is hard. Yes, I agree. But actually, he's now decorating his rental, which is a kind of proper modern box in a tower in London. So very, very different from the kind of cutesy vibes of the cottage he was in before. But, some really good befores and afters, lots of inspiration there.
I love before and after so much.
He's really good at that.
He's really good at that.
And I think I feel like he does it quite affordably as well.
Yeah. So if you're looking for more of a kind of, I would say, a slightly more maybe elevated interior design style, but of a similar look to that, be Osborne Interiors. She's done 2 cottages that have been wrecks. I mean, these are proper renovations where kind of some of them don't even have access to running water and electricity. It's kind of almost like a falling down relic of a Cotswold house, like a wall, and that's it. And she will turn it into an amazing home. And actually not on a massive budget. So she's really inspiring as well. I think if you want something more to help you with kind of mood boards and ideas and plans, Roxy Zeman's really worth looking at. So she's got loads of just kind of really lovely mood boards on her Instagram, but then she has also got kind of the CAD drawings and things like that. Blank Slate Studio. When you go on her Instagram, the first pinned post is a transformation of a staircase, and it is from something that was really quite a modest hallway stair, and what they have turned it into, it just that is proper design, almost kind of interior architecture. It's brilliant.
Oh,
So
look at that.
yeah, those would be the ones I'd start with. But I think really with a renovation, you just need to start looking at your style and who you're following and kind of go from there.
Great stuff. Finally, Lou, I'm looking for a pair of straight leg jeans for long legs, but not high waisted. I mean, did you write the question yourself? Tell us the answer.
These are from Massimo Dutti.
You're in head to toe Massimo.
I literally am. Yeah, they are like, they were £40. I bought them in 2 colorways. They're like mid-rise, but because they're like a bit more baggy, they kind of sit a bit lower. I like a low rise, not a high, and they're really long.
Do you know the name of them?
They are just called, I think, if you type in mid-rise wide leg white jean or Massimo, you'll find them.
We'll link them.
We'll link them.
Okay. Lovely. Thanks both. I think that's it for today. Thank you for listening. If you have any feedback at all, please do email podcast@SheerLuxe.com. We love hearing from you. Don't forget also to rate, review, subscribe, and tell your friends. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.